hit the stop button on the president's escalator yesterday?
So when you put all of this together, it doesn't look like a coincidence to me. And I know that we have people, including the United States Secret Service, who are looking into this to try to get to the bottom of it. And if we find that these were UN staffers who were purposefully trying to trip up, literally trip up, the president and the first lady of the United States, well, there better be accountability for those people. And I will personally see to it, Jesse.
Good. That 14-year-old girl is right. We've got to get to the bottom of Escalade Gate. It's...
Jimmy Kimmel once again went after Donald Trump, turning what could have been a minor story about a broken escalator into a full-blown late-night roast that had his audience in stitches.
The Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, gave quite a performance today trying to pretend Democrats are the reason he shut down the House of Representatives for almost a month.
We stop holding... I get very upset about this. I don't like being Mad Mike. I want to be Happy Mike. I want to be the happy warrior, but I am so upset about this.
Somebody didn't have his Go-Gurt this morning.
Well, despite the protests and the government shutdown, Trump is still keeping a busy schedule. Here, I'll break it down for you. Monday, meetings. Tuesday, Fox News. Wednesday, travel. Thursday, rob the Louvre. Friday, spend the whole day resting. Free George Santos, he's my bestie. Call up Vlad, you hang up first. Golf, sleep, Epstein, shred a stack. I hope the government never comes back.
The comedian, who has been relentless in his jabs at Trump since returning from his brief suspension, used his Thursday night show to mock what he called the former president's latest drama-filled distraction. The supposed scandal began when Trump complained about technical malfunctions during his visit to the United Nations headquarters. The teleprompter malfunctioned, the sound system failed, and most dramatically, the escalator he was using came to a halt. Kimmel couldn't resist turning the entire situation into comedy gold. He teased that while UN officials believed it was Trump's own videographer who accidentally tripped the escalator's safety feature, the former president's team saw it as something far more sinister. He even nicknamed Trump and his allies a group of clumsy detectives searching for imaginary villains. When Kimmel played a clip of Fox News hosts discussing the so-called escalator incident as if it were an assassination attempt, he could barely contain his laughter. From there, Kimmel continued to poke fun at the contradiction in Trump's image. One moment, the former president was described as a near-superhuman strongman, and the next, his supporters painted him as a frail victim in need of rescue. Kimmel joked about this inconsistency, wondering how someone who claims to be the most powerful man alive could also be portrayed as too delicate to handle a small inconvenience. But Kimmel didn't stop at the escalator fiasco. He also used the night to celebrate his own show's success since returning to air earlier in the week. After being briefly suspended for comments about the Charlie Kirk shooting, Kimmel's comeback episode drew a staggering 6.3 million live viewers, and his monologue racked up over 20 million views online. Despite being temporarily pulled from several markets, it became one of his most watched episodes in over 2 decades. With his trademark mix of humor and sarcasm, Kimmel thanked Trump for indirectly boosting his ratings, turning his controversy into a victory lap.
Favorable edit job.
Oh, stop.
Jimmy Kimmel hilarious reaction on Trump's another hole-in-one.
Another hole-in-one, sir. Well done, well done.
The suspension that briefly took him off the air had caused a massive uproar. Disney, which owns ABC, made the decision to bench Kimmel after pressure from federal regulators. His comments on the Charlie Kirk incident, where he criticized those trying to downplay the shooter's political affiliations, were labeled as inappropriate by some, prompting Brendan Carr, the FCC chairman, to threaten ABC's broadcast license. Within hours, Kimmel's show was halted. The move sparked outrage from fans, celebrities, and free speech advocates who saw it as blatant censorship. Protesters gathered in California, and the backlash grew so intense that ABC reinstated him within a week.
The MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them.
ABC announced last night it's pulling the plug on Jimmy Kimmel Live indefinitely and pointing to this segment from his show Monday night when he speaks about the murder of Charlie Kirk.
Shock throughout Hollywood and really the entertainment industry today. Inside the theater, when the announcement was made made was Jimmy Kimmel ready to go on with the show. The stars of the show, many members of the audience. Earlier yesterday, the head of the FCC, who's a very close ally of Donald Trump, went on the air on a popular podcast and said that ABC and Jimmy Kimmel should possibly be punished for this. And he also suggested that some of the ABC affiliate stations, which are licensed, may have their licenses challenged. That got some of the stations nervous. Around 60 of those ABC affiliates then announced that they would not air the Jimmy Kimmel show for the moment. And that's when ABC made the announcement. It was a one-sentence announcement, ABC not explaining the decision. Now, the fans who were here, the fans who came afterwards, some of the people protesting here last night, their reaction, very supportive of Jimmy Kimmel. One person who was very happy, not surprisingly, Donald Trump. He is in the UK. The announcement came at around midnight British time last night, but that did not stop Donald Trump from going on his Truth Social. He congratulated ABC, saying they made a courageous move. He said this is great news for the American people. And of course, he had some digs at Jimmy Kimmel, who he's had a long feud with over the years. He called Jimmy Kimmel someone with zero talent. So today we await the reaction from Hollywood. A bit of reaction last night. The two major unions here in Hollywood involved with show business, the Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Guild, the WGA, have strongly condemned the action by ABC.
The fallout wasn't just cultural, it was financial. New data from analytics firm Antenna revealed that Disney Plus and Hulu both suffered noticeable spikes in subscription cancellations following Kimmel's suspension. Disney Plus's churn rate jumped from its usual 4% to 8%, translating to around 3 million lost subscribers, while Hulu's rose to over 10%, meaning about 4 million users walked away. Critics argued that Disney's decision to silence Kimmel backfired, costing the company both goodwill and revenue. The cancellations coincided with planned price hikes, which may have added to the exodus, but analysts suggested the timing was too close to ignore.
Legendary talk show host David Letterman has weighed in on Jimmy Kimmel's indefinite suspension. Here he is with Jeffrey Goldberg of The Atlantic at the Atlantic Festival.
This is misery, and in the world of somebody who is an authoritarian, maybe a dictatorship, sooner or later everyone is going to be touched. And then my good friend Jimmy Kimmel, I feel bad about this because we all see where this is going, correct? It's managed media, and it's no good. It's silly. It's ridiculous, and you can't go around firing somebody because you're fearful or trying to suck up to an authoritarian criminal administration in the Oval Office. That's just not how this works. The institution of the President of the United States ought to be bigger than a guy doing a talk show. It would be hilarious if it wasn't all leading to something from which we won't recover.
Despite the losses, there was also a silver lining. Both platforms saw a bump in new signups that partially offset the cancellations, though the overall picture showed a company facing growing frustration from viewers over perceived censorship. Disney chose not to comment on the controversy, and Hulu has yet to issue a public response. Meanwhile, Kimmel hasn't slowed down his political humor one bit. On another recent episode, he went after Trump again, this time for his latest business venture, selling branded wristwatches. Playing a clip of Trump promoting the watches with his usual bravado, Kimmel laughed at how absurd it was to see a former president hawking timepieces on television. He joked about how ridiculous it would look if Abraham Lincoln had tried to sell top hats on camera, pointing out that at least Lincoln actually wore them. Trump, on the other hand, isn't even known for wearing watches, which made the endorsement even funnier.
But go on.
Get your watch today at GetTrumpWatches.com. Remember, Christmas is coming. Please make a great Christmas gift.
Jimmy Kimmel hilarious reaction on Trump's watch commercial. He's selling Trump time watches.
It's Trump time.
That's right. I want you to just close your eyes right now and try to imagine Lincoln in front of a flag selling top hats.
Kimmel wasn't the only late-night host taking aim at Trump this week. Jon Stewart, Stephen Colbert, and Seth Meyers all joined in, each offering their own comedic spin on the massive No Kings protests that had swept across the United States. Jon Stewart, who returned to host The Daily Show, marveled at how peaceful the protests were despite predictions of chaos from Trump's allies. He pointed out the irony of Fox News' first warning that the rallies would be violent, only to later dismiss them as boring when no violence occurred. He found it particularly amusing that Fox News commentators complained about there being too many angry old white people at the protests, a statement that seemed to clash with the network's usual rhetoric. Stewart drew comparisons to the Tea Party movement, noting the striking similarities between the two, except this time the anger was directed at Trump rather than Obama.
So clearly, Trump has the lavish sensibilities of a king, the entitled mind of a king. But if he was really a king, where's the broken down, inbred body of a king, saddled with the exotic infirmaries of royalty? Like this guy, King Charles II of Spain. Look at the picture. That's his official portrait. That's the one he picked. Oh, I like the shading and a little filter. It makes it seem like my head is not an actual eggplant. Bring me my corning line, that I might place my beshriveled. Say what you want about Trump. He doesn't have any of that stuff.
There have been many questions about the president's health after photographs surfaced of his swollen ankles and bruised hands.
Okay, those are weird. But a real king would have his minions dismiss said infirmaries.
Recent photos of the president have shown minor bruising on the back of his hand. This is consistent with minor soft tissue irritation from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin.
Donald Trump is the biggest snowflake in the history of humanity, right? Yeah. He's so thin-skinned.
Mehdi calls out Donald Trump as the most easily triggered figure in modern politics, and it's impossible to disagree.
This is where we are. What's interesting, though, I'll tell you why the Jimmy Kimmel thing interests me, is because it's not just, okay, the assault on free speech. You don't want to live in a country, most of a lot of people in this room, you, me, my parents, your background, come from places where you don't want to live in a country where the president says the comedian can't make fun of me, right? And that is fundamentally why people got so upset about the Kimmel issue. And the Kimmel issue is interesting to me is because it reminds us that
Seth Meyers on Late Night echoed those sentiments. He contrasted the media's obsession with the smaller Tea Party rallies years ago with its relatively muted coverage of the much larger No Kings protests. Meyers accused Trump of trying to downplay the demonstrations by calling them fake and claiming they were funded by political enemies. The comedian highlighted how Trump often resorts to the same talking points whenever he feels threatened, calling his critics paid actors or radical lunatics. Meyers poked fun at Trump's exaggerated descriptions of the protesters, saying they were mostly harmless citizens with homemade signs, musical instruments, and inflatable props, hardly the dangerous radicals Trump made them out to be.
Trump truly is the law and order president. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Santos, if you'll recall, was a Republican congressman kicked out of Congress by his own party. Millions of Americans prepared to take part in a historic show of protest on Saturday. President Trump responded by releasing George Santos from prison. Santos was a Republican congressman, as well as an Olympic volleyball player and Nobel Prize-winning scientist who won 3 Super Bowls and toured the country with Taylor Swift.
Don't worry, there is one federal employee who do be getting that money.
This morning, sources tell ABC News that President Trump is pushing for a personal $230 million payout from the Justice Department as compensation for the federal investigations he's faced.
He is demanding $230 million because he faced special counsel investigations over his campaign's contacts with Russia and his removal of classified documents from the White House to his home in Mar-a-Lago.
$230 million. And look, I know it's not exactly what black people wanted, but the American government is finally paying reparations. And, well, it is to an old white billionaire president, but that's why you need to be more specific when you're manifesting. Of course, a lawsuit isn't anything new. Trump sues people more often than Barron gets hit by a seagull. That kid is huge. So I don't mean to sound like your nephew at the Seder, but why is this lawsuit different from the other lawsuits?
The Justice Department officials who would likely sign off on the payment were once President Trump's own personal lawyers, Attorney General Pam Bondi and her deputy Todd Blanche.
Now, I'm sure Todd Blanche will take his time and very carefully consider what color pen he will use to sign the check over to his president boss.
Stephen Colbert took a darker but equally comedic approach to Trump's response. On The Late Show, he addressed the bizarre AI-generated video that Trump had shared online, depicting himself as a king flying over New York and defecating on protesters. Colbert showed the clip on air, warning viewers that it was disturbing, but saying it needed to be seen because it perfectly captured the absurdity of modern politics. He pointed out how grotesque and self-defeating it was for a political leader to release such imagery, calling it both literal and symbolic of Trump's attitude toward his critics.
At this point, Trump isn't even trying to hide his awfulness. His critics accuse him of being a wannabe dictator, so what does he do? He sits down with Hungarian dictator and elephant seal barking for a trout, Viktor Orban. Orban went down to Mar-a-Lago on Friday for an official fake state visit with the not president. Orban's a bad guy. In the last decade, he has weakened the institutions of democracy, eroded the legal system, and eliminated effective opposition. Did you ever know that you're my hero for trying to end democracy? I can fly higher than an eagle, 'cause you are the wind beneath my whale.
Taken together, the week of late-night television became a masterclass in political satire. Each host, Kimmel, Stewart, Myers, and Colbert, approached Trump's actions from a different angle, but their message was the same. Humor can still cut through the noise of outrage and misinformation. Kimmel, in particular, stood out for turning his own suspension into fuel for his comedy, transforming what could have been a career setback into a resurgence that boosted his popularity and ratings. The fallout from Disney's handling of the situation continues to ripple through the entertainment world, but for Kimmel, it's been a reminder that controversy and comedy often go hand in hand. Whether he's mocking Trump's broken escalator, his questionable business ventures, or his endless stream of grievances, Kimmel has shown that laughter remains one of the most powerful tools against absurdity. And in this political climate, there's no shortage of material to work with.